Hello, everyone. Good evening. So, tonight is the election night result of the 2024 US presidential election. And we're going to be live on TikTok and here on YouTube. Let me just allow using app. All right. Election. So as of now, Trump got 15,738,344 votes compared to 13,253,602 for Kamala Harris. And the Electoral College votes 95 for Trump and 35 for Harris. We're gonna get more updates right now. So far, Trump wins Florida. Trump also wins Mississippi. Also Alabama, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Missouri, South Carolina, West Virginia, okay, we're gonna watch some news. Okay.
Something's coming. Something else to happen.
Look around you, my friend. How much light do you see?
Darkness, I've come to talk with you again, because the visions of me.
It is 6 p.m. on the East Coast, and election night is in full swing. Welcome to our special coverage of Fox News Democracy 24. I'm Brett Baird.
And I'm Martha McCallum. Tonight is the night Americans across the country are voting. Our first major poll closings are now just moments away. Magic number, of course, is 270. That's how many electoral votes are needed to clinch the U.S. presidency. Race is centered on 7 battleground states, and in them are 93 votes that are toss-up. They are up for grabs, and they are more than enough to put either candidate over the top. And that will start to play out just minutes from now.
Georgia is the first battleground to close its polls. The Secretary of State there expects to have results tonight. The biggest prize of the night is arguably Pennsylvania. Polls close there at 8 o'clock, but a technical glitch in one county is prompting officials there to extend voting hours. In fact, officials have extended voting hours at precincts in several battleground states at this hour. More on that in a moment.
So really, one of the early stories here is the early vote numbers, and they are absolutely astounding. More than 84 million Americans cast their votes early. Many of them were in the swing states that will decide the race for the White House.
It's obviously not just the presidency we're watching. There's a lot at stake in the House and the Senate.
Malo,
First, on
join.
the Senate side of the Congress, there are 51 Democrats, including 4 independents aligned with them, and 49 Republicans. The GOP needs a net gain of 2 seats to take the outright majority. If former President Trump wins his race, Republicans would need just 1 pickup to flip the U.S. Senate because the vice president can cast the tie-breaking vote.
All right, let's go over to the House side of the Capitol, where Republicans hold a razor-thin majority, 220
Malo.
seats. Democrats
Pag
have
live.
212. 3 vacant seats are likely to remain in party hands. With every seat up for grabs tonight, Democrats only need a net gain of 4 to take control of the House of Representatives.
Special team Fox coverage. Our reporters are standing by in the battlegrounds.
So right now, Trump has 101 electoral college vote and 49 of Kamala Harris. Okay, we're just gonna watch more news.
All across
Malo.
the country.
Pag
First,
live.
let's go to senior national correspondent Aisha Hasni. She's at the Trump campaign headquarters in West Palm Beach, Florida. Good evening, Aisha.
Brett, Martha, good evening to you. Here at the big party, the watch party, not a lot of people here just yet. Things are just getting underway. They haven't even put the food out just yet. I'm told, though, there is a very impressive coffee bar here, which might be an indication that we might be up late tonight. We'll see how that goes. The former president is actually at home in Mar-a-Lago. He's going to be watching the results from there. He's surrounded by family and close associates, including, we just learned, Elon Musk is with him in Mar-a-Lago tonight. Earlier today, when the former president went to go vote
Sorry
in
about that.
West Palm Beach,
Someone
he
just
told the
battered
press
me.
that he was feeling very confident and that he had no regrets about the way that he ran this campaign. And he got a little introspective for a moment, sort of taking it all in, right? This final 3rd presidential run. And he said that he was feeling a little bit sad, but fulfilled by it all. Now, the campaign, as you mentioned, is very, very happy about those early vote turnout numbers. This was all part of the plan. They wanted to hit that early on. They wanted that to be the game changer all along. And they're
So
looking
Trump
at
got
states
30
like Arizona, Nevada,
electoral
and
votes
North
in
Carolina,
Florida.
where those early vote turnouts are exceptionally high. Registering new Republicans instead of cannibalizing those Republicans are hoping will come out in full force today. Trump says
9
he has
electoral
not
votes in
prepared
South
a
Carolina.
speech for tonight,
6 electoral votes in
and
Mississippi.
he does not even want to talk about his
7 in
transition team
Oklahoma.
yet, possibly because
11
there's a
in
little bit of
Tennessee.
superstition about that, but
10
he's
in
definitely
Missouri.
being a little careful about
4 in
what
West
might happen
Virginia.
tonight, hoping that we will have
8 in Kentucky.
results by tonight. We'll see. Brett, Martha?
We will see. Aisha Hasni, live in West Palm Beach. Aisha, thanks.
So then now let's go to our senior White House correspondent, Jackie Heinrich, who is at Harris campaign headquarters at Howard University this evening in Washington. Hi, Jackie.
Hey, Martha, you can hear the mic checks behind me. People are starting to trickle in, but make no mistake, nobody here is really feeling very comfortable tonight. The campaign maintains that they have multiple paths to 270, but the campaign manager, Jen O'Malley Dillon, said that the margins are very close. She's never seen them closer. This could be a historically close election. There has been a massive effort to get out the vote, get people to the polls, and get them to stay in line.
Is it
because
snowing in
they saw
Vancouver right
that
now?
high Republican participation in early voting, and that really spooked them because it skewed the results that typically show Democrats leading in the early vote in previous cycles, with more Republicans voting on election day. There is a lot of concern about Pennsylvania. I was speaking to one person close to me, the vice president, who said that it makes it difficult for either candidate to get to 270 if you lose Pennsylvania, but for Harris, it puts extra pressure on states like Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, and Nevada. And that might be why we're getting our first glimpse of hard data from campaign officials that focus on turnout in those states, including young voters and Puerto Rican voters in Philadelphia. They say positive signs there tonight, guys.
Jackie, thank you.
All right, throughout the night, we're going to have this ticker on the bottom of your screen, and it will have the votes that are coming in. Right now, we have New Hampshire and Indiana, some votes, early votes coming in. Throughout the night, you'll see different races flip, including the presidential race. On the side of the screen, sometimes we'll have the Fox News voter analysis poll numbers, and we are going to dig into those.
Yeah, so obviously at this point, these are just little trickles that are coming in, but we are starting to get them, and they'll be live on the bottom of your screen. We're also getting new information from our Fox News voter analysis surveys. Let's go to Sandra Smith, who is going to explain all of this to us, and also which issues they are tracking and what voters are saying as they have been voting. We've been looking forward to this data. We've been collecting this. This is different than exit polls, Brett and Martha. This is really going to give our viewers an inside look at not only who voters in all 50 states voted for, but why. So we reached out online, on landlines, on cell phones. We did this. This was done for Fox. The NORC at the University of Chicago surveyed 120 voters all over the country leading up to and on election day. And you will not see this anywhere else. And we have some new technology that will feature this data that we are just getting a first look at right now. So let's dig in to some of our key findings so far. This could be the story of big change. What we are seeing as far as this analysis is concerned so far, people are looking for big change in this election. Those that responded, 26% says they're looking for total upheaval. 56% say they're looking for substantial change. So you're talking about 8 in 10 voters that want big change. So keep watching that. That could be a big data point to follow throughout the evening. Why do they want that big change? So many say they don't like the direction this country is going in. Look at this number. Those that believe that we're moving in the wrong direction in this country, 70% of voters. Why is that key? That is 10 points higher than it was in 2020. So keep that in mind. I mentioned some of our new technology. This is our heat map. It gives you a sense of where that sentiment is felt by voters all over the country. You see some of those darker red areas in the Northwest, some of these redder areas throughout the Sun Belt. Keep that in mind as we move through this evening. Want to finish up with this, Brett and Martha. We know we've been watching the economy, but one question to voters is, who best do you see to handle the economy that so many are not happy with how it's going? Those that say Harris, 41%. Those that say Trump, 49%. So while he still has the edge, Brett and Martha, we have been seeing, leading up to Election Day, Harris narrowing the gap there. So that is really good information as we head into the night. And by the way, as we move into the night and polls start closing, we will be able to break down these answers by who they voted for. So we'll have that for you throughout the night.
You know,
Brett,
Sandra,
Martha?
it's really interesting. It's massive.
Yeah.
It's 120,000 voters who have answered this poll that's rolling for a number of days through this afternoon. So it really gives you a sense beyond exit polls.
We'll be back with more. No, and again, everybody keeps asking, how is it different than the exit polls? This was supposed to be and is a better reflection of how we vote today, right? We keep talking about all this early voting. The exit polls would reach out to the voters as they were casting their ballots on Election Day. Well, we know that's not how so many Americans vote today, right, Brett, Martha? So this should better reflect voter sentiment all over the country.
All right.
Sandra, thank you.
All right. Bill Hemmer is at the billboard, the first of the night, which will be a lot of it. Innovative technology here.
So according to the polling market, Trump has a chance to win the presidential election for about 70%.
Yes, indeed. We got a little bit of stuff here. At the end, I'll stand on my head, too. So a little bonus, all right? So we're getting ready for the marathon. And good evening, everybody at home. Okay, some of the vote is now coming in now in places like Indiana that are in the Eastern time zone. Not I'm telling you, see the counties start to fill in. Should not be much of a question here. Trump won easily there in Indiana. So, too, in Kentucky. A little bit coming in right now. This is Kenton County, by the way. Kenton County is right across the river from Cincinnati. You got about 36% of the vote coming in now. And what we'll be able to do throughout the night is find out how Trump did this year versus how he did in 2020 and how he did back in 2016. So we're going to have a lot of data points throughout the night to see how that goes. But
So
really,
the projected winner in Arkansas
See
is
that?
Donald Trump
We're going to be tracking
for about
this throughout the
6
evening
electoral
because
votes.
This is the magic number. Let's go ahead and look at the path to 270. We'll go ahead and show what we've done here, okay? We've taken Nebraska's 2nd district and given that to Harris. So as of now, barring any surprises, Harris starts out the night at 226, and Trump starts at 219, and it's the race to 270. So based on some of the early vote and some of the polling we've done so far, we're going to take Georgia, the peach state, that Trump narrowly lost 4 years ago, and go ahead and give that to the red team. Also in the American Southeast, we're going to take North Carolina. Again, 16 electoral votes. That'll go also to Trump tonight, which gives him 32 in the Southeast and takes him to 251. What happens to the blue wall? We're going to show you a lot of history throughout the night, let you know how the folks vote in the upper Midwest. At the moment, Michigan, 15 electoral votes. We're going to go ahead and give that to Harris. And also Wisconsin, its neighbor, at 10 electoral votes, which will give her 25 more in her pile and takes her also 251 to 251. Now we've got 3 more on the board. Late tonight, we're going to be in the American Southwest, and we'll see how fast Arizona counts, okay? So Arizona, based on some of the polling we've seen and the early vote out there, we'll go ahead and give the 11 electoral votes to Trump. Again, none of this is official. We're just playing this out based on the way we see it prior to the vote today. Also in the Southwest, we see Nevada. It's been a real toss-up, and Democrats have dominated out there in Nevada. But the 6 electoral votes right now, we'll go ahead and give that to Trump for this time at this point in the evening. And that leaves really a state that has gotten more attention.
So Pennsylvania is actually
else in the country. There's a reason for that.
the playing field right now.
Votes. Trump won in 2016. He lost in 2020, but just by a hair both times. If Harris is able
So
to
for
win
Pennsylvania
the 19
is
electoral votes, that would be enough
for Kamala
right
Harris.
on the number at 270.
That's almost
But maybe the folks
70%.
in Pennsylvania aren't feeling it tonight. If that's the case, perhaps later tonight, into tomorrow, maybe late Wednesday or Thursday, who knows, depending on how they count. Maybe Pennsylvania is a flipper this time, and they respond to the message about energy and fracking on behalf of Donald Trump. And if that's the case, under this scenario, he would go back to the Oval Office.
I'm in my 60s, and even though I ate a lot of protein, I struggled with low energy levels.
So it's gonna be a long
It
night.
turns out our muscles need certain amino acids that we
I
cannot
just
absorb.
skip this
That's
one.
at 287. But at this point in the night, we know nothing. We just know that all these 7 states are anybody's game. And this does not account for the possibility that there could be surprises. Iowa, New Hampshire, Virginia, New Mexico. That's why they play the games, and that's why they vote. Let's go ahead and clear this. I'll give it back to Brett and Martha.
I mean, it's not that
Next
we
time I'll stand on my head.
It's not that we don't know anything. I mean, we know some things.
Okay.
But I love that. And there's more toys to come.
We got a few things that we'll unveil slowly, and we'll see how they work out through the course
It's
of
like
the
the
night. You folks
periodic table.
Yeah, and you folks can gauge it, okay? You can judge it. It's like Dancing with the Stars, 1 through 10. Score it as you like.
That sounds good.
Great
We'll
stuff,
see you in a minute.
Bill.
Right on.
Thank you very much. So let's bring in our panel. Britt Hume, Dana Perino, Harold Ford Jr., Kellyanne Conway, and Karl Rove. What a great group we have to go through this evening. And as Bill was saying, Britt, we are just getting started. Those are all sort of just possible scenarios that we're looking at. How are you feeling tonight? What are you looking forward to?
I'm feeling about the way I felt about 3 hours ago, like we don't know anything. But we do have this enormous poll, which is telling us, as was described, why people are voting and so on. But the bottom line, or the top line on this poll, is it's saying the same thing that every other poll we've seen for Rich in aggregate, basically, is too close to call, toss up, coin toss, all the rest of it. So here we are. We started the evening having taken the biggest poll, and maybe the biggest poll in history, 120,000 people in the sample, and we're right.
Okay, so far when it comes to the Senate, the Republicans have a high chance to take control. That's for about 97%. So they need to have at least 51 to control the Senate. And I don't have an update yet for the House of Congress. We will take a look at that one in a minute.
Where we've been. Too close to call, coin toss.
Dana, 30,000 feet, we're finally here. There's a lot of talk about are the right kind of voters showing up for each party in the key places, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, a lot of anecdotal stuff. But as far as hard numbers, we're going to have to wait till the raw vote total comes in. The biggest indication may be Georgia at 7 o'clock.
And we live in a time, thank you, technology, that,
So far, Trump has 101 electoral college votes and 71 for Harris. Trump has 19,976,247 and 16,738,475 for Harris.
Finally here, there's a lot of talk about are the right kind of voters showing up for each party in the key places, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, a lot of anecdotal stuff. But as far as hard numbers, we're going to have to wait till the raw vote total comes in. The biggest indication may be Georgia at 7 o'clock.
And we live in a time, thank you, technology, that, we want instant gratification for a lot of things. You want dinner right now, you order it up on your phone, it's delivered 4 minutes later. We are not going to get that kind of service tonight. It's going to take a little while, but I'm glad that we're all together, and this is a way that Americans can say, okay, what are we looking for in the change that we're asking for? What do the 70% of people who say the country's going in the wrong direction, how are they going to vote? And also, you have two different campaign styles. You have President Trump. He was ruthless, fierce, energetic, talked to everybody, doing everything he possibly can. And it may work. And then her campaign was very cautious. It was truncated, short, and she was almost a quiet campaigner. And it may work. And the other thing I'm looking at tonight is this is a very different election for all of us for how people are getting their information. There's a lot of different ways to get it. You can find a lot of different ways here at the Fox News channel and all of our other properties, but that is going to play a role in this results tonight.
Yeah, Harold, when Dana says that about all the different ways people get their information, I'm thinking about the podcast, how many hours these candidates have spent talking to people that I think a lot of Americans had never heard of before these candidates started speaking with them. But we have a little bit of, information from this Fox News voter analysis that we're pouring over. What's really standing out to you tonight, Harold, as you look at all this?
First off, good to be with everybody. Second, if you're in line to go vote or you have family or friends in line to go vote, please vote. We want everybody to vote. 3, Georgia and North Carolina, what I'm going to be most focused on here over the next hour or two. We will get early numbers there. All of the demographics we're looking at, older, younger voters, the gender gap, male and female, how many black voters might be voting for Donald Trump versus for Kamala Harris. I think it will give us some telltale as to how the rest of the night could go. And then Michigan, that's the first of the blue wall states we're likely to get something from. So I got a lot of notes here, and I'm ready.
Kellyanne, one of the things, the Fox News voter analysis is a poll. It's a massive poll. But when we get raw vote totals, that is going to kind of verify or check where we are in those numbers and those answers.
No doubt. But Brett, Martha, nice to be with everyone. What I love about the Fox News voter analysis is we're not obsessed with the horse race numbers because the voters will have the final say on that tonight. You're asking questions of Americans that Americans are asking each other and themselves when they go into that ballot box. And that's what I appreciate. 60% are saying their top issues are economy, inflation, immigration, border security. 70% are saying we're off on the wrong track. Very few are saying they're not worried at all about gas and grocery prices, about the cost of living. They feel like they're not getting ahead. Now, we've known that last data point for years. What's unique about this survey is people are projecting forward. They don't think it's going to improve much. And so, look, voters ask themselves a very simple question. Do I like the way things are going? Should I stay with the course, maybe go for 4 more, in this case with Kamala? Or do I want to change? She tried to be the change agent, distancing herself from Biden. One big thing I'm watching tonight, folks, is she going to do as well as Biden did in Erie, in Bucks County? Right now, she's behind him in Jewish Americans. She's behind him in Hispanic. She's behind him in some of these key counties of these 7 swing states. She has to at least put the Biden-Harris coalition back together to make it tonight.
Yeah, and Carl, when we were sitting here, or I guess we were over there in 2020, Biden was ahead at this point, just in terms of the polling, not in terms of raw data yet, but she's not. I mean, everything has been completely neck and neck. So she is not in the situation he was in.
No, not at all. First of all, a little whiteboard.
I mean, are you competing with Hemmer? I mean, this is...
he's high tech, I'm low tech. Just remember, it is a tight contest, but it could yield, if it breaks the right way, a big electoral college victory for one side or the other. Because if they sweep 5 or 6 of the battleground states, it's going to give them a big chunk and make it easier for them to govern. Second thing is, we're going to watch tonight 3 different battles.
There's going to be a battle over the issues like Kellyanne talked about.
So
like
North
the economy,
Carolina right now,
but we're also going to see a battle over characteristics.
there's a high
because
chance
if it was a
that
battle
it
about
will
the
go
issues
to
only,
Trump.
this race would necessarily be over. And we're also talking about change. How people interpret what change is going to have a big impact on us tonight. And then finally, we're going to have the impact of third parties. Watch it tonight. This could be 2016 all over again, where a third party candidate, Jill Stein, got more votes in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania than Hillary Clinton lost by, or 2020, where Joe Jorgensen, the Libertarian candidate, got more votes in Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. And in testimony to the founder of and the godfather of the whiteboard, our man, Tim Russert, it's going to be Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania tonight. 2 boards. He's got lots of Sharpies. It's going to be a long night. To your point, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is on the ballot in Michigan and Wisconsin. And if that comes down to the wire, we may be talking about that later on.
Yeah, I mean, what a ride that has been. He tried to get on the ballot, then tried to get off the ballot, then he supported President Trump, and he could potentially be a spoiler in Michigan and Wisconsin. We don't know that yet, but we're going to wait and see. We're going to be watching that for sure. So we are waiting for our first round of poll closings. That includes key battleground states Harold just mentioned. Georgia is one of the first ones we're going to be watching. We have reporters literally everywhere as our special coverage continues.
Well, Americans are voting all over. It is 6 p.m. Our first results about to come in at the top of the hour. In some polling places, they are experiencing some hiccups. Senior correspondent Eric Shawn has more on that from our New York City newsroom. Good evening, Eric.
Good evening, Brett. Well, you know, it is a day.
Have you heard about Acusoli? These are the cutting-edge orthopedic insoles that people look forward to using. Yes, orthopedic insoles are beneficial for relieving foot, knee, hip, and back pain. And they're perfect for people who deal with...
Sorry.
That America votes. An official
There's
say
a lot of
the
advertisement right
but
now.
now it's largely going smoothly, but they say there are some sporadic incidents. In Michigan, 2 people were arrested for making election threats. One against former President Trump.
My heart is pounding right now.
Another one charged with targeting a Democratic organization. The FBI also says false bomb threats in Georgia originated with a Russian email address. The Bureau also warning about fake videos on social media. One telling voters to cast ballots remotely because of a supposed high terrorist threat. Another claim that there's voter fraud at prisons. All not true, says the Bureau tonight. And former President Trump on True Social claims there is, quote, a lot of talk about massive cheating in Philadelphia. Law enforcement coming. But Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner responds to that, saying, quote, the only talk about massive cheating has come from one of the candidates, Donald J. Trump. There is no factual basis whatsoever within law enforcement to support this wild allegation. If Donald J. Trump has any facts to support his wild allegations, we want them now. Right now. We are not holding our breath. And the Republican city commissioner there also says that claim by the former president is not true. He calls it disinformation. And disinformation does continue to pop up on social media. One Pennsylvania viewer alerted us to a Facebook post that appeared to show a ballot that already had a small mark in the box for Harris. The viewer feared his Trump vote would not be counted. We traced that alleged ballot to Kentucky, where the Secretary of State's office told us that the ballot is an apparent fake. So the lesson from law enforcement to support this wild allegation. If Donald J. Trump has any facts to support his wild allegations, we want them now. Right now. We are not holding our breath. And the Republican city commissioner there also says that claim by the former president is not true. He calls it disinformation. And disinformation does continue to pop up on social media. One Pennsylvania viewer alerted us to a Facebook post that appeared to show a ballot that already had a small mark in the box for Harris. The viewer feared his Trump vote would not be counted. We traced that alleged ballot to Kentucky, where the Secretary of State's office told us that the ballot is an apparent fake. So the lesson from all this, they say, be careful of what you read on social media. Brent?
Okay, Eric, thank you.
So meanwhile, the election has already ignited a flurry of legal challenges. Let's bring in Shannon Bream and Carrie Irvin, 2 of the best, to tell us how they are seeing all of this What really stands out at this point? We've heard a lot of these sort of smaller matters, but what should we be paying attention to? Well, the Supreme Court, the last thing they want to do is get pulled into this. The justices are going about their normal business. They heard cases this morning that have nothing to do with the election, but they are ready at any time for emergency calls that come into them. They operate 24/7 around the clock. And so while they hope this doesn't come to their door, they've had to deal with a couple things out of Pennsylvania and Virginia, and they're ready if that happens this time around.
Yeah, Carrie, some of it is about ballots that come in later, whether they'll stay open. These are all judicial decisions eventually.
I would say the focus of the DNC has been on access to mail-in ballots and the amount of mail-in ballots that are available. The RNC is focused, to your point, on the rules governing those mail-in ballots and to make sure the administration and such is going smoothly. I will say that...
So it's going to be a tight race in Pennsylvania and Virginia. Trump is leading in Ohio. Kamala is leading in Michigan. Trump is leading in North Dakota. Texas is for Trump with 3.6 million votes. That's 53.2%. We're actually halfway through the election. Hopefully before midnight, we will have a winner. So President Trump has a high chance of winning. Wait, let me just continue with the report.
There is a marked difference this time around than there was in 2020. The RNC and other groups have brought a lot of serious cases, serious challenges, because I think the country has gotten wiser to the fact that the administration of elections leading up to the election is very important.
And we should point out, these states, the secretaries of state, they've done a really good job overall. I mean, we haven't seen a ton of incidents, to Eric's point earlier.
Yeah, they had 4 years to figure out what didn't go right in 2020 and all the litigation and the messes that came from that. And there's still litigation related to people who were involved with some of those claims in 2020. So what they wanted to do in many states we've seen, they streamlined it. They streamlined the court process. Carrie and I have been going through these all day today. Many of them have been filed in Pennsylvania, but quickly, responsibly, they've been done well. They've been serious, and we've seen judges act on them quickly today, which helps everyone.
Thank you all.
We hope that continues.
We may be back.
Thank you very much,
The first
you guys.
polls are about to close in a half dozen states. Those results, early results, just minutes away as our special coverage continues on Fox.
And on Fox there, we're closing in on 7 p.m. Eastern, and that is when we will get our first poll closings in half a dozen states. We'll have to wait another hour to get the first glimpse of the blue wall, the trio of states that could hold the key to 270. Pennsylvania obviously is among them. They will be the first to close at 8 p.m. Eastern, and Team Fox coverage is in Wisconsin. Grady Trimble is in Michigan. But first, let's go to Alexandria Hoff, who we find in Morrisville.
How about you
Pennsylvania.
guys?
Hi, Alexandria.
It's gonna be my day off tomorrow, so I have a lot of
That is one of
time
the premier county
to
to
watch
watch here
the
in
news.
Pennsylvania. It is densely populated, 650,000 people. President Biden won it by 4 points in 2020. But now this year, for the first time in 15 years, registered Republicans outnumbered Democrats. Now looking statewide, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, former President Trump, he won the state narrowly in 2016, then lost it narrowly in 2020. So for Vice President Harris, her success here in the state potentially will depend on the collar counties, the suburbs of Philadelphia. Montgomery.
So right now, Trump has 103 electoral college votes compared to 71 for Kamala. In order to win the US presidency, one must have 270 electoral college vote. I hope I'm allowed to do a live
Chester,
on YouTube
Delaware
right now.
counties, and here in Bucks County that pushed President Biden over the edge in 2020, so it's make or break. Now, polls close at 8 p.m., but that is not necessarily the case everywhere. In Luzerne County, there's one polling location in Laughlin that's getting extended till 9:30 p.m. after some issues this morning. Some issues this morning are also why Cambria County, that is extended to 10 p.m. tonight. Those ballots cast by after 8 p.m. will be provisional. Again, 2020, the count here was slow. It took 4 days, but there were 2.6 million mail-in ballots to count in 2020. So far, 1.9 million have been accepted here this year. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
Alexandra, thanks.
Grady Trimble is in Michigan, just outside Detroit. Good evening, Grady.
Good evening, Brett. Michigan's top elections official says turnout here on Election Day has been off the charts. Some of the top issues driving voters to the polls in Michigan include the big ones like the economy, the border, and abortion. But there are also two niche issues more specific to Michigan. Those are the electric vehicle mandate and the Middle East. The Trump campaign has been trying to win over auto workers who disagree with their union's endorsement of Vice President Harris. The campaign has also been courting Arab Americans, many of them.
All right, just an update. Trump has 120 electoral college votes and 99 for Kamala Harris. New addition is Nebraska with 5 electoral votes, South Dakota with 3 electoral votes, and North Dakota with 3 electoral votes, and Wyoming with 3 electoral votes. It's not official yet. Currently, Trump is leading.
Unhappy with the Biden-Harris administration's handling
But for
of the
Louisiana,
wars in Gaza and
Trump
Lebanon.
got 8
Former President
electoral
Trump
votes.
became the first major party candidate to visit Dearborn, Michigan last week. That city is home to the largest Arab American population in the country. And we talked to voters, Arab American voters, who say that resonated with them. So as we look for results to come in tonight here in the Wolverine state, those two issues could be critical, not only in the race for the White House, but also as Republicans try to flip the Senate seat vacated by Senator Debbie Stabenow. Brett?
All right, Grady, thank you.
Mike Tobin is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. With a look there. Hi, Mike.
And there has been a problem, Martha, with the vote here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, according to Jeff Fleming, a city spokesman.
So New York is still blue. Kamala Harris just won 28 electoral college votes for that. I was really expecting New York, but it's like 49 over 51% of chance that Trump will get it. But well, let's see New York, how much Trump had. College votes.
And the Milwaukee Elections Commission. There were some 13 tabulation machines at Central Count, and a Republican observer noticed that the machines had been sealed but not properly locked. Some of the machines.
So Donald Trump just... Wait, hold on. Yeah, Nebraska has a projected winner, and that's Donald Trump. And right now, Donald Trump is leading Ohio. South Dakota. So they already like projected Donald Trump to be winner in South Dakota. Okay, let's continue.
So the city officials said they didn't doubt that the integrity of the vote, but out of an abundance of caution, have decided to rerun some 31,000 ballots, and that 31,000 out of 106,000 ballots. We did anticipate that we would get final numbers out of Milwaukee around 1 to 2 a.m. It looks like that will be delayed. And the ballots we're talking about are the mail-in ballots, the Dropbox ballots, and the in-person early votes. And we expect we will get the numbers now just a little bit later than 2 a.m. The city couldn't really speculate about how much later it would be. And we did get a statement out of the Republican National Committee out of this.
Okay, just an update. Donald Trump got 40 electoral votes in Texas. That's a good one. Okay, let's continue.
Says that this is unacceptable example of incompetent election administration in a key swing state. And that statement is coming from Michael Whatley and Laura Trump, the co-chairs of the RNC. Guys?
Mike, thank you.
We're also keeping a close eye on New Hampshire tonight. It is the site of a tightly contested governor's race between Democrat Joyce Craig and Republican Kelly Ayotte. Molly Line, is tracking that for us tonight. Hi, Molly.
Good evening. The Granite State's uber-tight governor's race is the best shot the Democrats have to retake a governor's seat after the current Republican governor there decided not to seek a fifth term. Former Republican Senator Kelly Ayotte faces off against the former mayor of Manchester, the city's largest city, Democrat Joyce Craig. Abortion has been at the forefront of this race between two women, Craig attacking Ayotte's record as a senator, voting for a national ban after 20 weeks. In response, Ayotte has vowed to adhere to state law, which limits abortions after 24 weeks. The most expensive governor's race in state history has afforded plenty of negative ads, including Ayotte's targeting Craig's mayoral leadership, highlighting homelessness and crime in Manchester. Craig pushing back, saying opioid overdoses and violent crime are down, slamming Ayotte's approach in a recent debate.
I think it's really sad that someone for governor is actually attacking a community, attacking Manchester. As governor, we should be lifting up every community in our state.
Ayotte launched perhaps the most scathing of insults at Craig, arguing that her approach to governing would model that of neighboring Deep Blue Massachusetts.
Mark my words, if Joyce Craig gets to the corner office, we can kiss our New Hampshire advantage goodbye.
And when it comes to casting and counting the votes, New Hampshire is old school. Voters fill out paper ballots. The majority of communities do use counting machines, but 122 towns still hand count their ballots. Back to you.
All right, Molly, thank you.
So the clock is ticking down to our first poll closings. They include Indiana, Virginia, and one of the big ones, Georgia. All part of our special coverage, Fox News Democracy 24. Counting down to the first major poll closings, and it is not just the race for the White House. We've got House races, Senate races hanging in the balance tonight. Senior congressional correspondent Chad Pergram live on Capitol Hill to set us up for that. Hi, Chad.
Martha, good evening. Nearly every source has described control of the House the same way to me, tight as a tick. Democrats need a net gain of 4 seats to win the House and award the Speaker's gavel to Hakeem Jeffries. Now, here are the bat signals which could indicate the direction of the House. 2 seats are in play in Virginia. If freshman Republican Jen Kiggins loses in Virginia 2, or if it's tight, that's a good sign for the Democrats. Another bellwether is Virginia 7. Democrat Eugene Vindman faces Republican Derek Anderson. That could tell us a lot about House control. Now, another canary in the coal mine, North Carolina 1. If GOP challenger Laurie Buckhout defeats Democrat Don Davis, that's a good sign for Republicans. Now, control of the Senate. The GOP needs a net gain of 2 seats. The first big indicator may come in Ohio. Polls close at 7:30 Eastern Time. Democrat Sherrod Brown faces challenger Bernie Moreno. Moreno appears to be running behind former President Trump in the Buckeye State. Now, Fox is told that Mr. Trump must carry Ohio by about 10 points in order for Moreno to win, and Brown has only won in Democratic years, 2006, 2012, and 2018. The wild card is this year. Martha?
Chad, thanks.
One of the races that could swing control of the U.S. Senate playing out
All right, another update right now. Trump has 137. So he needs 133 to win, and Harris 99.
In Montana, correspondent Dan Springer is in Bozeman tonight. Good evening, Dan.
Yeah, good evening, Brett. I want to go on the record as saying I'm jealous of all my colleagues and their nice, warm watch parties already. We're in Bozeman. It was snowing sideways. I don't think it's going to have a lot of impact on voter turnout today because most people in Montana voted prior to today. The polls close at 8 o'clock, and that's when we can go inside to the GOP watch party in the hotel behind me. It's expected to be a good night for Republicans here. President Trump is expected to win by a landslide. The big question, of course, is what happens in the Tim Sheehy, John Tester race. John Tester has been said to be the most vulnerable Democratic senator in the country this year. As he has in past years, he always seems to manage to slip away and win his elections. And he could do it again this time, but Republicans are confident that Tim Sheehy, a newcomer to politics, will end up winning this seat and taking the Senate for the Republicans. Brett?
Dan Springer in Montana. Dan, thanks.
Joining us now here on set, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Speaker, good to have you with us. I know you obviously are watching these House races very closely. You know them probably better than anyone. Tell us what we should be watching for and whether or not you think there's an opening here for your party to take over the House or to build
we
on
have
the House.
Can we hold it and can we extend it? A lot happens to do with the presidential race. A lot of our candidates are underperforming Trump. The next two states you're going to watch is Ohio and North Carolina. And that'll be a big play, not only just for the House, for the Senate. Moreno has been closing stronger. We have 2 congressional seats there that could be a pickup. And if we pick up 4 to 5 seats from Democrats, we will keep the House. And you look at North Carolina 1, look out. It will tell you 2 different things. If we win that seat, the Republicans are going to have a big night. But it also tells you the percentage of the black vote, which could give a problem to the Democrats. If it stays where it is right now at 36%, that could be good for President Trump and also good for Republicans.
So as you look at the map, there are these canaries in the coal mine in different races. But how much does the presidential race and the coattails there affect those races?
I think it affects whether the House is able to keep Republican is going to be a lot on President Trump. If we keep the House, Trump brought us over because before a lot of our candidates overperformed Trump, they're all underperforming. I was just talking to one member in California that Trump had lost his district by 13. Trump was tied today in his district. Trump has been performing
in California
better than he has before. Because you really got to look to California and New York is where we won our majorities. That's where a lot of money is being spent. We've always picked up seats in those states the last 2 cycles. We've got to pick up some more and hold them.
So when you look at the presidential race, in light of all that, because so much will depend on it, it has been tossed up all across the board for, these polls have been tied for weeks. What's your take?
My take is what I'm looking at early is suburban areas. I don't want to see a bleed from President Trump's vote in the suburban areas where he had...
You mean from 2020?
From 2020 to 2024. And the rural areas, I want those to turn out bigger. Now, Republicans have really improved with President Trump on early vote. Instead of being down 1 million votes in Pennsylvania, we're only down 400,000. You look at North Carolina, Arizona, we're actually ahead. That's like going into a football game in the 4th quarter and you're leading. Can you keep the lead? That's where we're at right now.
It's exciting. America is voting in great numbers. You've been a candidate so many times. On these nights, what is the candidate? Is it nerve-wracking? Is it exciting? What is the deal?
You know what? These hours right here are the most nerve-wracking because everybody's calling you to ask what's going on. You have no idea. And you want to know what's happening. And you put all this effort for probably a year and a half. All your effort can be your family, and all you want are the returns. And you come to a state like California, you still got to wait a month.
That's right. We hope not. We hope not. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Great to see you.
Now let's take a look at another battleground. Arizona, the Sun Belt state, is also home to a high-stakes Senate race out there. Senior correspondent Alicia Cunha is live in Scottsdale.
Every year, millions of homeowners battle rats and mice, leading to property damage, health risks, and sleepless nights.
All right. We're getting there. It's like 70%. Let's see. Well, California will for sure will go to Kamala.
And Hillary Clinton was counting on those 3 states to deliver her the presidency. We know that she didn't win it, and the reason that she didn't win is because the blue wall let her down. She lost Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania by a total of some 77,000 votes total.
Okay, just an update. Trump now has 177 and Harris has 99. So Trump needs 193 or 93 to win. Let's go to 70. To 3.
So it was just that close, but she never campaigned in Wisconsin. You know, they might have taken it for granted. So they're still trying to determine if they can make it a blue wall again this time.
Okay, and interesting, back then in 2016, I think she won the popular vote too, but she didn't become president.
No, you can look at those states for where the problem lay.
Yeah. All right, Eric Sorensen, we're going to come back to you many, many, many times. Thank you. Appreciate it. Neetu Garcha is at the watch party for Kamala Harris. That's at Howard University in Washington, D.C. That's where Harris went to university. Neetu, how would you gauge the level of enthusiasm, the mood there right now?
That's right, Donna. Well, I think those numbers and states that Eric was just going over with you are what folks here are plugged into. You can hear some lively music behind me. Some people are dancing, but many of them have their eyes glued to the screens here, which are broadcasting results as they come in from CNN. The stage is set. A little bit of the formal program here tonight has included the anthem being sung by representatives from Howard University, as well as the gospel choir. The president of the university spoke here about the significance of who will potentially become the first president to have graduated from a historically black college and university. The DJ has been playing lively music for hours now, and every time these very, very early results indicate any kind of lead,
let's go, Slick.
Harris, the crowd here, an estimated 20,000.
So Trump needs 93 more electoral votes to win. Just got up from your work.
The lively nature here at this venue is not just emblematic of the fact that we're at a university. It is Kamala Harris's alma mater. It's also potentially a sign of the hope that seems to exist within her base. It seems like those around her, especially in these past 48 hours, have seemed to hold on to some optimism that they are.
Okay, just an update. Ohio has a projected winner. That's Donald Trump. And he will take 17 electoral votes. Let's see here. And they have a chance to take over the Senate this year. I mean, next year. Okay, let's go.
Doing well. Of course, nobody's taking anything for granted, and Kamala Harris's focus today in a radio blitz, a series of interviews making her final pitch to voters, really was to encourage people to get out there and cast their ballot. Take a listen to some of that.
We just got to get everybody out to vote, though. I know there's a lot of support and pride, but this is going to be history. Talk about history. This is going to be historically one of the tightest races ever for president.
Now, in
that sequence of clips that were played in the early parts of this Global News special, we heard one where Kamala Harris said, quote, "There is not a thing that comes to mind." Earlier in the campaign, Kamala Harris faced some heat, some criticism for not better differentiating herself from Joe Biden. Later in the campaign, she started to really say that a Kamala Harris presidency would be much different from a Joe Biden presidency, saying that she stands on her record as a prosecutor, a career that was motivated in part by her years living in Canada, in Montreal, in her early teens when her mother got a job there. She has talked about how she had a friend who was abused by her stepfather, and that really inspired her career as a prosecutor. She's also had some criticism over her, what some have called flip-flopping when it comes to the border. First, a stance around making sure that the border does not clamp down on those who are crossing it as heavily as her Republican opponent, and then later saying that it was a border bill that she and her team had tried to pass through, but alleging Donald Trump had gotten wind of that and then stopped it from being able to pass through so that he could run on a problem rather than a solution. Some of the other pledges that Kamala Harris has made over the course of her campaign, she's talked about her love for small business, a woman who helped raise her when she was young. Her godmother, as she refers to her, was a small business owner. She's offering a tax credit to small business owners. She's pledging to reinstate Roe versus Wade. She's talked a lot about how she is focused on the people of America as opposed to what she says would be a Donald Trump presidency.
My heart is racing right now, like literally racing like crazy.
At Chewy, find a variety of irresistible food.
Ads. Don't listen to the ads. I might get banned. There you go.
Was won by Trump, making him the first Republican to win that county in more than 30 years. It is the most populous county in this state, and also noteworthy, it has a very large Hispanic Latino population, around 70% of Miami-Dade's population. And of course, that hugely important demographic could possibly be a bellwether for this election.
What do you mean, a
it's
trainer?
Easy to forget, Donna, that Florida was not long ago really considered to be a swing state, a battleground state. Obama won it twice, albeit by
What was
thin
your
margins
question?
before Donald Trump picked it up in 2016, 2020, and now doing it again in 2024, as I say, by his largest margin yet, as Florida continues to turn from purple to red. One county, it appears that Donald Trump has not won here, is his own county of Palm Beach, where we are right now. Of course, home to him, his official residence, Mar-a-Lago. It appears that he has lost that riding, Donna. The Canadian equivalent, if you like, of the Prime Minister failing to win his own riding. But as I say, you wouldn't know it based on the showing of support we have here. And one other note, Donna, some breaking news, in fact, in just the last few minutes. Florida voters have rejected the abortion rights amendment that they were voting on here today, which would have provided more protection for abortions here. Instead, it keeps in place the state's current 6-week ban on abortion, preventing abortions after the 6th week mark, except for in extraordinary circumstances, and that abortion ban
Hello,
is the toughest
Nikito.
in these United States, Donna.
Reproductive rights, such
In
a
Ottawa.
huge issue in this campaign. Jeff Semple in Florida tonight, thanks. I just want to bring everyone up to speed on the numbers you're seeing on your screen there. We're still very early on in these results coming in, the ballots being counted. So on the bottom of your screen, you can see Trump won 77, Harris 99. Those are the electoral college votes that have been won for each of them at this point. The magic number, of course, is 270 to win the presidency. Neither of them near that yet. And it's important to say these numbers don't necessarily indicate a trajectory because it's so early in so many
Somewhere in Ontario.
counts.
Somewhere
All right,
in
the
Ontario.
American ambassador to Canada, David Cohen, is watching the election results tonight from Ottawa.
It's a bit
and he's
warm
taken
today.
some time to talk to
Or
us.
maybe because
Ambassador,
I'm
thank you so
just
much for
too
joining
excited.
us.
Well, Donna, thanks for having me on your air.
Sorry about that.
What strikes you most about tonight? I know it's early.
I'm just gonna open the window.
Well, I
know it's fall
my
season
role
right now.
as U.S. Ambassador to
No, it just
Canada,
felt warm.
I'm sort of out of the political business. I don't comment on partisan political activity. So I'm ready to declare that the big victor tonight is going to be democracy. And once again, when you look at the level of
They always talk about
participation in this election,
democracy.
and remember, we're doing a lot more than electing a president of the United States tonight. unlike in Canada, where in your next federal election, the entire focus will be on who the next prime minister is going to be. In the United States, we're conducting hundreds of elections. 34 members of the United States Senate, 435 members of the U.S. House, the President of the United States, 13 governors, countless mayors, state legislatures, city councils, commissioners, and judges. And to me, elections and election day is the
Do you have any
ultimate
suggestion
symbol
in Ottawa
of the effectiveness of
for like a
democracy,
tourist destination, a tourist
engagement of the
spot
public
on
in the
Yukito?
democratic activity of electing our
I'm
leaders.
planning to go there
And
by
at the end of the day, I
spring.
think this election may well be the historic election that folks have been talking about, but that it'll be historic for the level of participation and engagement by the American people in this election.
Yes, we have seen some evidence of really large turnout in some of the states. Ambassador, you know, Canadians, of course, can't vote in this election, but we have a big stake in the outcome, as does the rest of the world. And there is concern about political discourse here. I know you don't want to get deeply into partisan politics, and I don't either, but help us understand, you know, the anger, the way politicians talk about their opponents. Donald Trump calling Kamala Harris last night a radical leftist lunatic. He said worse things about Nancy Pelosi. Some Democrats, of course, including Kamala Harris, has called Trump a fascist. And they fear he's going to try to cling to power if he loses tonight. The rest of the world watches this and is worried about the state of America. Should we be worried?
So I don't think you should be worried about the state of America. I understand the concern. The United States has been an enduring democracy for almost 250 years. We've had challenging elections in the past. We've had contentious elections in the past.
So just an update regarding the House. So far, the Republican is now leading with 145 seats and Democrats 101. So in order to gain the control of the U.S. House, they need to get to 18. Okay, let's continue.
I don't think that you can judge the quality of a democracy by campaign rhetoric. You have to look more to governing and how people govern. And I certainly do not think that you can judge the quality of a nation's democracy on the basis of the outcome and the conduct of one election.
I got a warning from TikTok.
Among hundreds of elections that are being held today. And I think that's an important point to continue to emphasize, that the presidential election is only one election among hundreds of elections that are being conducted today. Do I wish that everyone would have a more civil discourse? Do I wish in Canada, in Parliament, that members of Parliament could be more polite to each other during question period? Yeah, I do wish that. But I don't think the fact that there are these intemperate moments in the political campaigns of this particular election means that democracy is under threat in the United States or Canada.
Well, that's reassuring. The U.S., you know, became more protectionist under Joe Biden. Donald Trump has said in his campaign he will put tariffs on everything, minimum of 10% tariff. Can you give us an idea of what impact Canada might see, depending on who ends up in the White House?
So I start from a slightly different place than your question did, if you'll humor me, which is that the United States and Canada enjoy the largest, most consequential, and most prosperous bilateral trade relationship in the world. We have $3.4 billion a day in goods and services trade that crosses our border, creating or sustaining millions of jobs on both sides of the border. The vast, vast majority of that trade is free trade. So I push back a little when folks talk about increasing protectionism.
All right, so an update. Trump has now 194 electoral college votes and 95 to Kamala. I don't think it's 95 because it says here 99. So it's taking a while to get an update.
Has grown for almost a century, is extremely likely to be sustained and to continue to exist no matter who the next president of the United States is.
So right now in North Carolina,
All right.
Kamala Harris
Ambassador
is
Cohen, we
leading.
really appreciate you taking time to speak
Wait,
with us
North
tonight.
Carolina,
and
let me
we'll continue
double
to
check.
watch the results. Enjoy Ottawa. Thanks for speaking with us.
I try and enjoy Ottawa all the time. Weather's not quite as nice in Ottawa as it is in Washington, but it's pretty nice today. It's certainly not
Actually,
very
it's
November
President
for
Trump
Ottawa. I'm
leading
about to
right
enter
now in
my
North
fourth
Carolina.
winter in Canada, and I'm used to what winters are like in Canada, and I have not had any problems with them for the first 3. I doubt I'm going to have a problem with them this year.
So Kamala just won
I'm sure you
Colorado,
won't. And I love all the poppies
and
streaming
that's
down the
10
Peace Tower behind you there.
electoral votes for her.
I hear it's
coming up.
It's a great view, and I'm proud that we're all wearing our poppies. And this is not a tradition that we have in the United States, but I'm proud to be wearing a poppy as the U.S. ambassador to Canada.
Well, we appreciate it. Ambassador, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on the air, Donna.
Well, former President Trump still claims falsely that the last election was rigged and that cheating and fraud is going on in this one too. There's no evidence of that, but it doesn't matter because the lie has spread and it has shaken people's belief in the electoral system and by extension the media too. So we wanted to be transparent about how we and many other news organizations are getting the U.S. election results tonight.
This global news is just too biased. Okay, let's hear it from Progressive. Oops. Ads.
They want to be happy means is that they want to be secure in their foundation, which is not at all the same thing as pursuing the hedonic pleasure that would be duplicable. Same, okay.
I have to interrupt because there's an election happening.
Oh, yes.
And Decision Desk HQ has called North Carolina for Donald Trump.
Let's go, baby.
A huge piece of news. Truly a must-win state, in my opinion, for Trump. North Carolina now firmly in hand. And another great sort of victory, not only national victory, but even personal victory. They're also declaring Ted Cruz has won his Senate in Texas. As we said while Dennis was here, Ted was actually kind of on the ropes a little bit in a very hard-fought campaign, but in these last weeks, I mean, he's done an enormous job down in Texas, an enormous job campaigning, a very smart politician. And he's retained his seat for a third term.
And most importantly, Jeremy,
Trump
at least
already
from
had
your
an
perspective,
Iowa?
your only friend in the U.S. Senate remains in the U.S. Senate.
Not just the U.S. Senate, my only friend in government at any level, top to bottom. And so with that good news, we'll take a moment to tell you about our sponsors. We're so grateful to them. They've made it possible
Trump
for us to bring you the show live tonight outside
won
of our
Iowa
paywall.
with 6
And
electoral
here's a little
votes.
bit more about one of them. We'll be right back.
Last year, half of American consumers took on debt to pay for the holidays. This year, it could be you.
And going into debt can be very, very tough. It is never too early to start planning to get out of it.
Our friends at PDS Debt can help with a personalized solution just for you.
Maybe you made some bad decisions. Maybe you had some bad luck. Having bad debt does not make you a bad person. What matters now is finding a good solution.
Oh, guy.
If you
That was funny.
payments every month and your debt isn't going down, PDS has solutions for you. Get customized options for anyone struggling with credit cards, personal loans, collections, or medical bills. Anyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies, and there's no minimum credit score required. Bad and fair credit accepted.
Start planning now.
Get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/dailywire. It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/dailywire. pdsdebt.com/dailywire.
And thank you to PDS Debt for sponsoring the Daily Wire's election night coverage.
Thanks again to our sponsors for the night who have made it possible for us to bring you this show live, and to our dailywire.com members. They make it possible for us to do the work that we do every day. Like, they pay for the set. They do a great job. They pay for our content. We're very grateful to them. We're going to be taking more questions from our dailywire.com members throughout the evening. And if you're not one, we'd ask you to consider becoming one at dailywire.com/subscribe. We'll give you 47% off tonight if you use promo code FIGHT because, of course, Donald Trump, with a little good Lord willing, the creek don't rise, as they say, will be our 47th president. Ben.
Yes.
So what are we learning?
He's going to, just going to put it out there, he's going to own Sunbelt states. Okay, so this is just going to come down to what we always thought it was going to come down to, those blue wall states. She has to win all three. That is her only path to victory. She needs to win all three of those states. The great irony, the thing I'm rooting so hard for, more than anything else, is that it comes down to Pennsylvania, and she loses Pennsylvania because she wouldn't pick the Jew. It would be the most wonderful thing in the entire world. I would love it so much that her signal moral inability to condemn the pro-Hamas quadrant of her base loses her the election because she just couldn't pick the Jewish guy from the swing state with the 60% approval rating.
Yeah, but
serve her so right.
She felt like she was on the ropes in Minnesota, right? Wasn't that why?
She needed the weird guy from Minnesota. She needed the very popular governor of the obvious swing state. What she required was the super weird guy who looks like an inflatable off the side of a freeway to use the car a lot. And that's the one she needed.
In fairness to Kamala, so she offended all the Jews.
Why couldn't you have just said in fairness to inflatable?
Yeah, in fairness to like good. But not only did she offend all the Jews by not picking Shapiro because she wanted to cozy up to the pro-Hamas side. Also, let's not forget, 1 in 4 voters in Pennsylvania is Catholic, and she decides 2 weeks before the election to say, hey, you say Jesus is Lord? Get out of my rally. You got to go to that Trump rally.
I mean, what was worse than
Who
that is-
says she never tells the truth?
What's even worse than that is when she went on national TV and they said, will you make any religious exemptions for abortion?
Yes.
And she was like, nope. The nuns are going to be aborting the babies. They're like, whoa.
It's going to come down. The problem with the Rust Belt thing is the Rust Belt is those 3 states have voted exactly the same.
All right, let's
since
try
1977.
different.
Has there been a single exception? Has there been a time where Michigan?
Different news outlet. We'll try this one.
In, I've seen a lot of booze being carried away. So people are obviously in a celebratory mood. They want to be able to celebrate. But the news that they're getting is not what they would want to expect. They would want her to at least win in Virginia. Also, North Carolina, another big state, Pooja. He was close. He was close last time with President Biden in a sense that for initially Biden could pull it off. But he's doing exactly what he needs to do. He's also
Alright, I think I'm gonna close my YouTube right now. I'm running out of battery.